Hey, off-season After Dark fans, glad to have you here for episode 53, and we're going to talk UNLV Rebel football with Jason Kelly. An episode I've been wanting to do for a while. A team who, very promising going into this year, should be at or near the top of the New Look Mountain West, and a lot of buzz. Very good roster. Dan Mullen's doing a very good job, naturally. So, Jason, I don't know if you're familiar with our After Dark network as much, but mostly SEC guys. I'm the only guy that doesn't do an SEC specific show, so I get all over. But obviously, being mostly focused on SEC teams, Dan Mullen is a guy most of our usual viewers will know well. So why don't you give the listeners just a quick rundown, Jason, of what got you following UNLV football? How long have you been putting out content, and where our viewers can follow you?
Sure. Yeah. So I started my podcast a few years ago. At this point, I've been doing it for a few years now. I am from Vegas, born and raised. My family came to Vegas in 1895. So I love this city, and I love UNLV. And UNLV football really has been an afterthought in the city of Las Vegas for a long time, up until the opening of Allegiant Stadium. And some people will say, oh, you guys play on an off-campus stadium, a pro stadium. That sounds kind of crappy. So look at what USF is doing with Tampa, for example.
Mm-hmm.
But the hard thing about UNLV is it's right next to the Strip. I mean, the casinos and UNLV's campus are literally next to each other. And so there's no land there, that you can buy unless you have billions of dollars.
Is the UNLV campus a paradise address? Or is it Las Vegas? Okay, I wasn't sure about that. Yeah,
it's not technically on in Las Vegas proper. There's a lot of tax reasons why the casinos do that. Stay out of Las Vegas.
I didn't know that. Okay, that does make a lot of sense. Okay.
Yeah, it's so the city can't tax the casinos. That's why they do it.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, so UNLV moving into Allegiant Stadium has been a huge boon. I started the podcast just because I love the Rebels so much, and there's a dearth of content. There's not a lot of UNLV content people out there. Yeah. And so I decided, why not me? And I started the podcast to get our basketball coach fired. That worked, and but we kind of kept it going from there. And our football team started getting good at the same time, and it's really turned into something that I love. I love this team. I love this city. I think Las Vegas is quickly emerging into one of the sports capitals of America. And think of all the pro sports that are coming here, all the tournaments that happen here, media days, all that stuff. UNLV is a program that has at least on the football side for a long time, wasn't living up to its city, to its market. And with the arrival of guys like Barry Odom, a previous SEC guy, and Dan Mullen, and also the school just spending a crap ton more money on football and not focusing as much on basketball, you've seen UNLV football really emerge. And it's been an honor and a blast to kind of cover it.
Good. When you were talking about your issues with the former basketball coach, is that Kevin Kruger? I'm assuming.
Yeah. To be fair, I've already, I basically am trying to get every basketball coach fired because I just haven't been happy with any of our coaches for the last 10, 11 years. But if you remember, in the last non-Power 4 team to win a national championship in either basketball or football is actually still UNLV in 1991. So I mean, we have a long history and a good program, but we've turned ourselves away from the basketball a little bit. We've hired Josh Pastner, and they're doing whatever, and we've become a football.
Yeah,
and we've become a football.
Otzelberger obviously is doing great for himself now at Iowa State.
Yeah, he had a losing record at UNLV as our head coach. He was awful at UNLV, a crap head coach for us. So anyway, we have Dan Mullen. We're happy. Things are good.
So let's briefly rehash. Dan Mullen last year went 10-4, made the conference title game, made a bowl game. I mean, by all accounts, it was a successful year one. I mean, I don't think many people realize before Barry Odom, over 20 plus years since the last bowl. I mean, it was like 24 years. The streak of awful seasons was almost unprecedentedly long for the FBS level of football. And Odom showed almost overnight that he could turn that around, and doing that 2 years in a row, no surprise, a Power 4 conference came calling, especially given his previous experience. But when Mullen was hired after that, you had to be happy about that. It seemed like a home run at the time.
I mean, it is a home run. And look, Dan Mullen's first season was a success for sure.
Yeah.
Now we have been to 3 Mountain West Championship games in a row now and lost all of them to Boise State in pretty
Mhm.
humiliating fashion. So I am perhaps with this realignment happy to not be playing Boise
Yeah.
State anymore because
Am I correct that 2 of your 4 losses last year were to Boise, regular season and the
yes,
conference title game? Okay. New
yes,
Mexico, Boise. What's the 4th? I'm blanking on
we
the
lost
4th
our
one.
bowl. We lost our bowl game. It was against
Ohio.
Ohio, and
Ohio,
yeah,
that's right. Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, but to be fair, last season, I mean, Barry Odom took everything that we had, and we had a lot of seniors on that 2024 team. And so Dan Mullen, I mean, put together a really good offense, scored a lot, but we were one of the. I mean, if we had Tarleton State's defense last year, we were probably in the college football playoff. That's how bad our defense was.
Okay.
I don't think we were one of the 100, including FCS tools. I don't think we were one of the 150 best defenses in America last season. So
So I always look, I do deep dives into that, and you guys were 61st against the pass. That was your highest rated category
by a
nationally.
lot.
So it was
It's because
61st, 95th against the run, 70th in coverage ranking, and 76th in overall. Yes. So that's,
I think
yeah.
at points in the season it got a little bit better towards the end, but at points in the season it was even a lot worse than that. You
Yeah.
can believe me. I mean, we gave up 600 rushing yards to Air Force last year. Um, yeah, so I mean, like it was a really flawed team, and the fact that we were able to get to 10 wins was pretty miraculous. And this season, despite the fact that we lost Anthony Calandria to Nebraska,
Yeah.
our starting quarterback last season. The defense is looking a lot better. We brought back our old defensive coordinator under Barry Odom. We retained some good guys. We got some good guys coming back on defense, and we added some really good talent on defense. And the sky's the limit for this team this year, and for Dan Mullen's era. I mean, Dan Mullen's the highest paid or the second highest paid Group of 6 coach. We've invested a lot in him, and we gave him a house at Southern Highlands Golf Course, which is one of the famous golf courses in
Yep.
Las Vegas. It's one of where the rich people live. It's Floyd Mayweather has a house there. It's like,
Okay.
and we've tried to set him up as best as we can. And this is the year that we're kind of hoping that it pays off with a
Yeah.
pretty manageable schedule.
I would have figured him, Danielson, and Jamie Chadwell would be probably the 3 highest paid G6
He's
coaches.
paid like $2 million more than Danielson.
Is it that much more? Okay.
I think Chadwell might be the highest
Yeah.
paid because that school is
And they're not going to tell us how much they're paying him, and they don't have to. So
no.
Heartline's probably decently high, but I don't know exactly what Heartline is at USF now either.
Mullen, I think, is 3.7. I mean, he's actually not that
That's
far
a
off
lot.
from the.
Yeah.
He's actually not that far off from the bottom of like the Big 12 and the ACC. He's actually
Yeah.
not far off from those schools.
Okay.
And they could raise money and increase his salary here if it was needed. So
Okay.
they're going to try and do everything they can to keep him. He likes Vegas.
Yeah.
He likes golf. And there's no media scrutiny, certainly like in the
Yeah.
SEC, like he was dealing with at Florida.
Yeah. And how things ended at Florida, it's one of those he's always mentioned in the conversation of would he take another P4 job? To me, like I think he's in a pretty good situation. Like why you've already done that. You've been to as an assistant and a head coach the top echelons of college football. He wasn't bad at Florida, but he just wasn't what they wanted. I don't know why you leave. Maybe you do leave at some point, but to me, there's a lot of good things going for him now that would cause you to stay. So let's look a little bit at the roster. So, some of the big names, obviously, the right place to start there has to be Jackson Arnold, former Oklahoma quarterback, former Auburn quarterback last year. Struggled at a few SEC schools, but also showed flashes too. It wasn't like it was all just awful play downhill. He ran for 8 touchdowns last year, threw for 6, didn't turn the ball over a ton last year when he was playing. I'll specifically ask you, in the Dan Mullen offense, why is Jackson Arnold a good fit?
Well, he's got good legs. Dan Mullen he's got good legs. He can move, and that's something that Anthony Calandria did very well for us last season. And my opinion about Arnold is that we're not going to play the exact same way we played last year under Anthony Calandria. I don't think we're going to be asking him to sling the ball around. This season, they really focused on the offensive line. And we bring back one of the better running backs in America in Jet Thomas from
Yes.
last year. He's a senior. He's been with the program. And so, Dan Mullen, say what you want about him. He got Kyle Trask to play in the NFL. Like this guy knows how to coach quarterbacks. And he is a guy that I think can figure out what Arnold's strengths are and what his weaknesses are. Am I expecting him to ask Arnold to throw for 300 yards a game? No, I'm not. But am I expecting him to have Arnold running a lot and to have him be a physical force? I think, especially against this new weakened Mountain West, I think Arnold's physical traits are going to be able to show, because he does have all the physical natural talent you could really hope in a guy. It's just a lot of it's just been mental. A lot of it's been he's slow to make reads sometimes, not the greatest decision maker. If anybody can get the best out of Dan Mullen, if anybody can get the best out of Jackson Arnold, it's absolutely Dan Mullen, who led Tim Tebow to win back-to-back national championships.
Yeah, I think it was a good move. I liked bringing in Arnold for you guys. And it's one of those. He became one-dimensional in the SEC, which hurt him. It may not be as big of a drawback in, as you called it, a weakened Mountain West. So I think there's a lot to be, excited for there. Two transfer receivers that really caught my eye bringing in Marion Walker from Middle Tennessee, which oddly enough, I'm actually doing a Middle Tennessee episode tomorrow. And then Troy Stellato, who was last year at, and before that was at Clemson. So that receiver room looks pretty good too. Not to mention, returning as well. So I'm shocked the team in your country has a better receiving core. Is that, what do you think about receiving, or how do you guys feel about them?
Yeah, I think it's a good receiving core. I'm a fan for sure. Look, I don't know that it matters that much, the specific names in some ways. Like I like McCoy, I like Stellato, I like Tayshaun Lyons, I like a lot of the names. And to me, it matters more what Jackson Arnold's doing as opposed to them specifically. I think that in Dan Mullen's system, the spread offense, there's going to be opportunities for receivers to do well. There's going to be some drawbacks if Jackson Arnold doesn't play well. It's going to all really depend on how Jackson Arnold does as the quarterback. It's not necessarily going to be these guys. I think almost anybody could do well in Dan Mullen. As long as you're a baseline level talented, almost anybody could do well in Dan Mullen's system.
I think so. Yeah, it's he is one of the better X's and O's head coaches in the country. That is not at all why the Florida fans wanted him out. It was, how he handled recruiting there. But I think everybody has said a big part in why he was so successful at Mississippi State is that he was able to elevate a lesser talented team in that conference because of his X's and O's acumen. So I think you're spot on there. The O-line looks pretty good, with multiple transfers. Jackson Brown, it looks to be the right tackle, formerly at Cal and Kentucky, and then two transfer guards. BJ Tolo was New Mexico State. Griffin Scruggs, Appalachian State, started his career at Georgia. That O-line looks pretty nasty for, a Mountain West unit. I would be surprised if you guys are not a very effective running team. And you had mentioned before, you don't think they're going to be winging the ball around like they did last year. This O-line would lend a lot of credence to that. They look like a really good run blocking unit up front.
Yeah, I like our tight ends as well. I think
Keon Burnett could be a heck of a player.
Yeah, I think our blocking on the outside could be better. If we might be able to be a little bit more creative with our run scheme this year. Because we'll just have better guys in the trenches. Austin Boyd's another name that I would bring up. He's been with the program for a long time.
Okay.
He's actually playing center. He transferred to our center position. He'd been playing. He's played right guard. He's played left. He's played a lot. So he's going to be a name to kind of watch out for. I think we're going to run the ball really well. I think you could see a 1,300 or 1,400 yard season out of Jet Thomas.
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised by that at all.
That I'm glad you mentioned that with Boyd, because I always look at two depth charts, one of which had him at center, one of which had him still at guard. So I wasn't quite sure what that was looking like, but that's good to know. On the defensive side of the ball, not a ton of guys came in the portal, and I don't know if that's good or bad. Like you return a lot of guys, but it's a lot of guys that didn't have a ton of success last year. Herb Gray will start at the D line. He was at Tennessee before, big recruit. When he came out of high school, that linebacker unit got a few transfers in, and then at D back, Landon Cleveland came from Oklahoma State, Avery Helm from TCU, and Kyron Chambers from SMU. What can you tell me about the defense specifically? How do they plan to get better?
Well, they focused a lot on development over transfer portal stuff this year, and they were kind of trying to. Last year, I mean, it was such a crap show last season. I mean, we were really dependent on Marcel McDuffie, our middle linebacker last year, to carry the defense, and he didn't always have great health, and he did about as good of a job as you could hope for. And they did improve last season. Our best defensive game of the year was in the bowl game. Also bringing back Sure, we had a situation where our defensive coordinator Zach Arnett left us midway through last offseason. There was some jokes about him at a Wendy's, whatever. So I think the continuity and bringing in Mike Sure has been really helpful. Who was Barry Odom's defensive coordinator at Purdue last year, and he had previously been at UNLV and had a lot of success. And so, look, I mean, the name specifically, I don't really know what to think about it. I mean, Cohen Fuller's a name that had an eligibility thing going on that we believe is going to be playing. He'll play a lot. There's a couple of guys with the eligibility stuff that we're looking at too. The defense for me, can you stop Mountain West teams from scoring more than 28 points a game? Can you hold people to under? Bronco Mendenhall used to say this a lot at BYU. It's like, if we can keep teams under 28 points, we're going to win. And that's kind of how I feel about this defense this year.
I don't put it, because you guys, very few teams are going to shut you guys down offensively. I think that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, I mean, Cam Sante's a name that I would look at. He's there's some good. He's a transfer from Holy Cross. He played linebacker there for a long time. FCS guy. Him a lot.
One of the depth charts I said has him listed as a starting middle backer.
Yeah. So, I mean, fun names. Justin Flo's still there, if you know who Justin Flo is.
He was red flagged on one of them, which means I'm not always sure eligibility-wise I do know who he is.
He's still there, and we're going to have him play edge this year, which is different. Okay. Basically, I think the coaches got frustrated, and every coach that's ever coached him actually has gotten frustrated with his inability to communicate well. And so they're putting him on edge, and they're just going to say, go get the QB. And I actually like it because I think physically he can do it. So it should be a fun unit.
Right. Oddly enough, the way he once came up in the last competition I remember talking about him was, we were akinning it to Harold Perkins at LSU was pretty good when he was on the edge going after the QB, was not good and out of position when he had to drop back and do other linebacker things. So
I think it's a good idea. I think we're going to get more out of him this year.
Good. Yeah, that's good to hear. So, I had told you I'm having a Middle Tennessee episode tomorrow. Over the weekend, I had a Memphis episode, and he was very excited when I told him we had a UNLV one coming up. So let's get into the schedule a little bit and how it shakes out. Those first two games at Memphis, which is week 0. And then
it's in Vegas, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then at Hawaii, which the second game, but technically week 1, both against good teams. There'll be games you'll have to prepare for. Memphis. So obviously, me being a Marshall employee now, know Charles Huff real well, who's currently at Memphis, and then Hawaii. Ali Huddle will be a good QB. So going into those first two games, what are your hopes, expectations? What do you think?
Listen, there's a lot of people in town that have the opinion that we need to be a playoff team this year. And look, I get it. The hype, you're paying Mullen a lot of money. That makes sense. I just want to win the Mountain West. My goal, my opinion about this team is you can't not win the Mountain West after rebuffing the Pac-12 like we did. You better win the conference. After getting a huge payout like we got to stay in the Mountain West, you better win the conference. So when I look at the schedule, specifically these first two games, the Memphis game I think it's very winnable. Obviously, I mean, we're favored right now. I think we're at 4.5 or 5 right now over Memphis. I think that sounds about right. I mean, both these teams it's going to be kind of a crapshoot. The thing about it is our home games aren't necessarily beneficial to us in terms of like a home field advantage. Teams come, they're playing in an NFL stadium. It's indoors. Teams play well at Allegiant Stadium. That's just a fact.
It's an easy place to get jacked up to play at, especially if you're a player at that level. 99% of them have the goal of, I want to play in the NFL someday. That's going to be the closest a lot of them get. So you're naturally going to get hyped for it.
Yeah. So I expect us to win both these games, to be honest with you. And look, that doesn't mean we will, but I have that expectation. I think that the program is at a place where they need to win these games. The Memphis matchup is interesting. I don't think Memphis is going to have a huge traveling contingent out to see us. So the crowd will be a little subdued, I'm imagining. Usually our games we don't generally play home games in September, which sucks, but usually our first home game is not super well attended. Okay. And it picks up as the season goes along. And then Hawaii, it's a rivalry game. Las Vegas is known as the ninth island. We play for a giant golden pineapple when we play the Rainbow Warriors.
I didn't know that, actually. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's never any problem getting up for Hawaii. It's early enough in the season. Actually, I think if you're going to travel to Hawaii, get it out of the way. Do it early when the guys are still really hyped. Yeah. I think that Hawaii is a beatable team. Alejado's great. I mean, we smoked them last year when we played them in Vegas. And we'll see how we do this year.
For you guys, every conference game is winnable. I've done a lot of these episodes. There are not many teams I've said that about. Every conference game is winnable for you guys.
It should be. I mean, it should be. Listen, we have more money.
You win all of them, but it's within the realm of possibility that you do win all of them. Yeah.
Well, SP Plus has us favored in every game we're playing this season.
I was going to ask that because my thought was Cal you'd be underdogs in, but. Okay.
Not right now. Look, we don't know where we're going. We don't know how it's going to be when we get to week 5 or whatever the Cal game is.
And the Cal game is at home, correct? I thought
it's in Vegas. Yeah.
Vegas, yeah.
Our road games our road non-conference games are North Texas, which very winnable. Neil Brown starting there, and
totally
they lost a lot.
They lost more of their roster than any team in the FBS this year.
Yeah, so, I think it was them in Washington State that were really on the top there. And then we also play Akron on the road, which is a very winnable game. But our non-con home games are Memphis and Cal.
Okay.
Good slate, actually. I mean, it's a good schedule in a sense that you want to have as a group of 6 team. What you don't want to do is like what's going to happen at Boise State, go and get smoked by Oregon, or you want to play a Power 4 team that you can beat. I think is really important if you're a group of 6 team. And then
because I was talking about Boise recently, with the Memphis one, there's a reasonable chance Boise starts 0-2. I'm not saying they're gonna lose. I don't think they lose to Memphis, but they could. Memphis is gonna win 8 or 9 games. So
their schedule is reasonable. I mean, the non-conference is tough, but their schedule is very reasonable. I just did a Memphis American preview. Their schedule is reasonable. Very so. Cool. Okay. I look at our non-con and I want us to win all of them. I really do. I think we can. I don't think that's an unfair standard. We're probably going to lose one at least. That's just the way it goes. That's the way the cookie crumbles. But I'm expecting us to win all of them. And if we don't, I'll be disappointed. But that doesn't mean it's going to happen.
Yeah. And say you go 11-1 with the 1 loss to Cal, then you win the conference title game. You're in a very good spot to go to the CFP. At 12-1, being conference champs with your only loss to a P4 team. Now, if you have more losses, if you have a second, it's tough. And if it's a bad loss to another G6 team, that becomes convoluted in looking at it. But
we could lose the road game at New Mexico. People like Jason Ecolot. That would be doable. I think losing at Air Force wouldn't be as bad too, because it's just tough to play against the triple option. I think
they're going to be better this year than they have been the last 2 years with Calhoun.
They should, yeah. I actually, my season prediction, I'm always way more pessimistic on the Rebels. Okay. When I try and give an objective view, but kind of as we're kind of running short on time, I think
that is one of the last. So I do want we can get into our final 4 questions. So what's the ceiling? What's the floor this year? Your projection.
The ceiling is 13-0. That's the ceiling.
It is absolutely.
Yeah. There's no way around it. The floor 8-4, I think, is probably the
Okay.
floor.
I pegged it at 9-3, so we're not far off. Yeah.
Yeah, and I actually think that I think we're going to go 9-3. Like that's my
Okay.
prediction. I don't think Jackson Arnold's that good at quarterback. I think he's going to struggle with Dan Mullen's system a little bit, and I think our defense is going to be mediocre. Hopefully mediocre is if we can be top 100, I'll be okay with that. But I think we're going to be kind of mediocre, and I think we'll score enough to win a bunch of games. 9-3. I think 2 of them are going to be in the non-con. So.
Okay.
Maybe Memphis and Cal, but I think we are going to be in the conference championship game. So, and I think I do think we'll win the conference. So I would pick us at 10-3 as Mountain West champions. That would be my guess.
I think that's very fair. Yeah. So I always that's one of these end questions. I always ask the same to everybody. So the next question, out of the teams in the Mountain West, what coach is on the hottest seat?
Ooh, Salvel at Wyoming, probably. Okay. I think that's probably that's a program that actually cares and wants to do well, and they have history, a little bit of history, and I think he's up there. I think Walden, maybe Walden in the first year. I don't think UTEP wants to spend money to fire a coach.
Probably not. Yeah.
Jeff Chode, maybe at Reno, but probably not honestly either, because I don't think they want to spend money to fire a coach. I don't think San Jose will ever fire Ken Niumatalolo. I think they'll probably just let him reign supreme there. So I really don't think there are that many coaches that are like truly on the hot seat. I think you got NIU pretty high. I would expect NIU to be the worst team in the league this year.
So this isn't mine. Tampa 2 is the site I took this from. I will not take credit for this power ranking. No, that's what. Yeah, I have the.
I was going to say San Jose. I mean NIU. I mean their roster got gutted. They lost their coach during the offseason.
And I think NIU Harley, their coach, has to be the hottest seat by default because he's the interim.
I don't even know that I count him.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't even know if it's fair to even count him as a hot seat coach because he's not really a coach.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I'm excited to see what North Dakota State does this year. I mean, really fun program. Fargo should be interesting. They've got kind of a tough.
Actually, I'm originally from Minnesota, about 2 hours straight east of Fargo. And when I was coaching back there, I coached multiple guys who went and played at NDSU when they were FCS. So
good program, man. Grateful they're in the Mountain West. They helped this conference. And really, when you look at the top 5 of the Mountain West, it's not that far off from the top 5 of other Group of 6 conferences. I mean, the bottom of the league is kind of a doo-doo crap hole of crappiness, but and I don't say that to insult the teams. It's just they're just struggling programs a little bit. Whether it be Reno, the worst city in America, or San Jose, a program that keeps shrinking their stadium. Like really nice people that are fans of San Jose. I'm not going to say anything positive about Reno, of course.
Okay.
But
and Wyoming was competitive up until a couple of years ago, and then they've dropped a bit since Bull left. But,
I remember when they beat Texas Tech a couple of years ago. I remember that. I mean, it's not. NIU beat Notre Dame 18 months ago. I mean, this is not a bad. No. When it comes to the realignment, the Pac-12 stuff. Look, I was all on UNLV needs to be in the Pac-12. UNLV has to leave this conference. And on the basketball side, I still believe that. I've been very upset with UNLV remaining in the Mountain West for some glimmer of hope at joining a power conference that probably isn't going to materialize because they're just nobody wants to share money with us. But on the football side, it's a reasonable conference. It's fine. I think it's good, actually. It's maybe a little underrated because people just assume that the Pac-12 took everything, which in a way they kind of did. But there's some programs on the rise, including UNLV, New Mexico.
I agree. I don't think it's as bad as I think some people give it an unfair rep when they shouldn't. Yeah.
There's a chance it's the second best Group of 6 conference. There's a chance. I mean, there is. There's a chance.
Yeah. Last 2 questions. Which coach in the conference with a good season or 2 could vault himself up to a Power 4 or a really good job, similar to what Odom did, getting a P4 job?
Well, Troy Calhoun is attached to the hip at Air Force. He's not going anywhere. I don't think any of the bottom 5 are going anywhere. No. Jason Eck probably – I think there's a chance he could have left after last season. Possibility, maybe.
For me, Eck is the guy. Yeah. But
and Mullen, of course. I mean, Mullen could go if he wants to. I'm sure that there's a Big 12 or an ACC team that would love to have Dan Mullen. He might stay in Vegas because there's not the pressure that there is in the Power 4, and he can he can kind of just have unlimited job security and all the golf, and we comp him everything he wants at the casinos. I mean, Dan Mullen lives a good life here in Vegas for sure.
Good for him. Yeah. But Eck would have been mine, if I would have to pick one. And then the last question I always ask, this is a thought experiment that kind of makes people dive into it. When we get off of this call tonight, if Dan Mullen were not the head coach, who would you want UNLV to hire tomorrow to be your next head coach?
That's a great question.
I
have no idea.
Yeah.
I mean, Les Miles, maybe? No.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, I've not heard that one yet. Yeah.
I was gonna say Brian Kelly, maybe.
Okay.
I was thinking, okay, who's a big SEC guy? Patterson, maybe, the old TCU coach. I mean,
he's at USC now as Lincoln Riley's D coordinator. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, maybe him. We
want somebody that's one. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, sure, if you wanted to go internal, sure would be the guy that I would pick, our D coordinator, a guy on the spot. He's probably not. I mean, to be honest, I actually don't know. I don't think there's a great answer to that question. It would be somebody that has won at the SEC or Big Ten level, though.
Okay. No, it's a good answer. Yeah, it's one of them. It's tougher to think about that one. But
I said Les Miles. That was a mistake. I didn't mean to say Les Miles.
Our viewers will be glad to hear that. But Jason, I want to thank you for being here. I really was glad we could dive into UNLV football. Like I said, it's an episode I've been wanting to do for a while. Viewers out there, I will tag him on Twitter, X, Jason K Redline, and then on YouTube at Let's Run UNLV. So
yep, you type in Let's Run UNLV. I'm doing previews as well and all sorts of stuff. I don't just talk about UNLV, I talk about everything. But of course, UNLV.
Awesome, so do I on here. So good. But thanks for being here, and everybody, appreciate you watching.